Tiger fans, what's going on, guys? So I apologize for the lateness of this video. It was an off day anyways today. And really this week in baseball, for Tiger baseball, it was better. So my last couple videos, I've been kind of down, been kind of depressed because of the whole Erod situation. And really, frankly, the team hasn't been that great to watch. Whether how bad they've been struggling offensively. They had won 3 games in a row for the first time since May in this Minnesota series that at home that they had, finishing up that homestand. So really, the consistency of the team, what was going on, it really wasn't anything to write home about. So coming into this week, the Tigers were playing 4th Minnesota, and it was a surprisingly really good series for the Tigers. The Tigers actually shut out Minnesota twice in this series. Erod had a good start against the Twins. Reese Olson had a much-needed bounce-back start against the Twins. Looked better. Spencer Torkelson this week. Spencer Torkelson and Kerry Carpenter had absolutely fantastic weeks this week. Kerry Carpenter was a home run machine. Spencer Torkelson had a multi-home run game, and then he goes into Boston this past week, has a 4-for-4 game in the middle game of the series, the only one they won. So it was good to see that. Bradley Green slowed down a little bit this week, but he's still a stud. I'm really impressed with Kerry Carpenter. If you look at this guy from a year ago till now, he's played just over 100 games in the big leagues. And you look at his numbers, he's going to have over 20 home runs by the season's end. And you look that he's missed a month. Remember, he should have 2 more home runs to his ledger. That series in Toronto, Kevin Kiermaier robbed him, and he just missed another one. So really, he should have closer to 20 home runs. But to see the consistency of this guy, to where he went through a little bit of a slump, and this past week he really broke out of it. I think what's so impressive about him, and I think a thing that AJ Hinch has done that I've been really happy with, is for a while he was trying not to let Kerry hit left. He was mainly Haas was playing that day. He was trying to load up the lineup with righties on days. It was a left-handed pitcher. I mean, it makes sense for matchup-wise. But if you look at this guy's numbers against left-handed pitchers, he's been really good. I mean, what he did against Chris Sale is absolute lunacy. I mean, to be able to hit a homer off of him is absolutely insane. And I can remember a time when Chris Sale first came up that he had a season, and it had to be either 2011 or 2010. It might even have been 2012. I don't remember. But Chris Sale had a season where he gave up only 2 home runs to left-handed hitters all year. And fun fact, this is something if you guys ever want to impress anyone with how little life you have, like myself. Brennan Bosch hit both home runs off of Chris Sale that one season, where he only given up 2 home runs to left-handed hitters all year. And, to see Kerry hit lefties like he's done, and especially off someone like Sale, who pitched well his first start back, it's a great sign to see. I mean, you look at this guy's average. He's in the 270s. He's going to have 20 home runs. He's definitely struck out more than he did in the minors, where he walked a little bit more. But, it was great to see this guy's bat perk up, because they need it. And, if this is such a Tigers week, where they have like a game where they almost scored 10 runs, Torkelson hits 2 home runs, and watching Tork hit those 2 home runs, it was pretty cool. You can definitely tell the confidence level in Torkelson this year, to this point, to like last year. This guy is starting to get it. And this guy's starting to feel himself a little bit. He bat flipped both those home runs. And I think it was impressive because the first one that he hit in the Minnesota series was opposite field home run. And I think that's only a second or third home run he's hit opposite field. But when you have a guy, when you're hitting home runs to that part of the ballpark, you don't hit a home runs out if your swing is not on time and your swing is not going well. to try to hit a ball that far opposite field. It just doesn't happen as a right-handed hitter. Then the second one he hit was a hanging slider. And when he hit this ball, he hit it into the road team's bullpen at Comerica Park, dropped his bat, just like he did in the first one, but really kind of got into this one. And it was a fucking rocket off the bat. Because Tork has been having some bad luck. He's really starting to pull the ball in the air more, which is why, you're starting to see more home runs. I mean, the amount of doubles he's got, he's starting to pull the ball in the air. But he's still getting torqued where, the line drive outs, where he's just missing balls by, 4 to 5 feet at the wall, getting, warning track fly outs. But what you're seeing this year with his growth, I mean, I think he's got 3 multi-home run game seasons this year. You're seeing where his cold streaks aren't nearly as long. So this was just a great week for Carp and Torkelson. Akil Baddoo had a couple home runs this week, which is good to see because he's been really struggling. And I think with September closing in like how it is and only being a few weeks left until September call-ups, this is a real big put-up or shut-up time for Akil Baddoo because the Tigers last year, when they had sent him down and then they called him back up, I want to say it was probably right around this time last year, they kind of gave him carte blanche where A.J. Hinch wasn't really caring about how well Baddoo's performance was. The Tigers were just trying to give him a lot of at-bats. And they did. They gave him a lot of at-bats towards the back end of last season. And he definitely struggled for a while because I can remember at one point in time, Akil Baddoo went like 4 weeks with 2 extra base hits. And then it was right around the start of September where he had started to hit well. And this year, it's been a struggle for him to find consistency with his swing, striking out a lot. And I get it. He's a dynamic player. He's been better defensively. His speed's great. And he opens up a lot of things on your ball club. But you can't steal first base. And his offensive approach has been very inconsistent this year. Now, he did hit one over the monster this past weekend in Boston. He did have a home run that hit off of the foul pole at Comerica Park. So, I mean, that's good to see. I still think that these next 2 months are huge for him, especially with September call-ups coming to where you'd assume Parker Meadows and Justin Honey-Malloy, even though Cole Keith is heating up, are going to be your September call, at least a couple of your September call-ups. And you'd assume that with Parker Meadows being a left-handed hitter and Akil Baddoo's overall numbers this season, that if someone is going to lose some playing time to give Parker Meadows an opportunity, if he is one of the September call-ups, it would definitely be Akil Baddoo would be one of the guys that is going to start seeing a little bit less playing time out there in left or right field. So at this point in time, I'm just kind of waiting for September. This past week wasn't bad. They took 3 or 4 from Minnesota. There was some fun games. They shut them out twice. You think they have some kind of forward momentum going into Boston. Offense looked great. First game, they lose. Second game, they have a typical Tigers game where you're like, you see the offense is kind of lethargic for a couple of days. And then all of a sudden, Tork's 4 for 4. Gary Carpenter has 2 home runs over the monster, and that guy just continues to rake. Akil Baddoo gets in on the action. And you're like, okay, well, now they have a chance to take a series. And yet again, but of course, Boston takes that last game of the series. Trevor Story absolutely goes off. Tarek Skubal this series, that game 1 of that series, Tarek Skubal was pitching pretty good. He left one slider up to Tristan Cassis, and Tristan Cassis put it into Williamsburg in the bullpens out there. He absolutely ripped that slider for a 3-run shot. Game was kind of over then because the Tigers' offense was very stagnant that game. So there was opportunities to win that game. There was opportunities to win Sunday's game. Riley Green got thrown out at third base. There's some base running blunders. So it's just a typical Tigers week. I'm, like I said, still dead set looking towards September. I really want to see who gets an opportunity because I'm, like I said in my last video, I'm sick of the same old. I could go without seeing Matt Vierling get as many at-bats, even though he's played a good center field, but he hasn't been that great over the last month and a half. His average isn't bad, but if you go and look at his month by month, he hasn't really been anything that special since July. And, like I said about Akil Baddoo, I'm pretty much overseeing him getting regular playing time. Nick Maton and Andy Apanya, Zach McKinstry, just say a name. And I think if one thing is telling, I don't know if you guys listen to MLB Network Radio, but every single Tuesday, AJ Hinch does a spot for about 8-9 minutes on there, and they were asking him about the team overall, and he had made mention about this roster, and he had specifically said that there's guys in AAA pushing for the big leagues, and there's players on this roster that are clinging to the big leagues. And if that's not in a cryptic way saying that these guys only have so many more at-bats and so much more time before changes are going to be made, mainly either being released or playing time reduced, I don't know what is. Because he isn't directly going to come out and say we got a bunch of guys that are dog shit, and most of these guys wouldn't be everyday players on a decent roster. And they got players at the AAA level that are really pushing. I mean, Parker Meadows' numbers are great. Justin Henry Malloy's numbers are great. And Cole Keith is really heated up. So to me, with him saying that they have guys at AAA pushing the roster, and they have guys on the current MLB roster that are clinging to a big league spot, that for sure says the organization's paying attention. And that for sure says that September, there's going to be some players called up, and there's going to be some opportunities given. So these next couple of weeks that we have to watch, these guys still continue to get everyday at-bats. I don't think, barring some kind of massive injury, I don't really think there's a chance in hell that Parker or Justin Henry Malloy, I still don't even think with the September call-ups that Cole Keith gets a chance. I really have a strong feeling that they're going to keep him down in AAA for the remainder of the year because, I mean, you got to look at what Henry Malloy and Parker Meadows have done. They've had really good numbers. And there's been opportunity, whether it was Riley Green's injury or just basic lack of production out of the Major League roster. And Scott Harris has still been dead set on letting these guys develop at a AAA level versus bumping them up to the big leagues to see what they can do, especially in a situation where the team isn't competing for anything. So I kind of have this feeling that regardless of what his numbers are in AAA, I really think the Tigers are going to leave him down there to get an extra month's worth of AAA at-bats and see what he does out of spring next year, because they've been so dead set on AAA at-bats and minor league at-bats before bringing him up to the big leagues and then potentially, falter right off the rip, and you bring up somebody that was supposed to help your roster, and now they're stuck in a 1 for 27, and they're a rookie, and someone that was supposed to come up and help isn't doing much better than the player that they replaced. So I get it to a point. Selfishly, and just for the fact that our team is so bad, would I like to see them get an opportunity? Yeah. Like Cole Keith get an opportunity? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could... Who'd you guys... As bad as Colt Keith supposedly is at third base, or Justin Henry Malloy is at third base, when you watch like Nick Maton the other day on Sunday, a ball's hit to him and he takes a step back to try to play it on a different angle of the hop, and it eats him up and ends up going out into left field, and they end up eventually scoring a run off of that. There's no reason why someone like Colt Keith or Justin Henry Malloy couldn't do that, and potentially give you a better offensive bat. Because if you're looking at the numbers that these guys are potentially replacing, it's not anything special. You're looking at guys that are 20 to 25% worse than the league average player. Some guys 30% worse than the league average player. You can have a guy come up and be 15% worse than the league average player, and it's an improvement. It's like putting perfume on a pig, a very smelly pig, but, it's an improvement of just smelling shit, which is what it's been. I did want to mention this week, Miguel Cabrera passed some milestones. He passed Tony Gwynn and he passed Robin Yount. And I think Miggy is hitting like 331 since June. And there's some people like, oh, well, Miggy should come back next year. He could still hit. He could still play. Like, guys. Hear me out on this, okay? When you're hitting 331, right, but your slugging is almost the same as your average, it's time to hang it up, okay? I've said this before, and I'll reiterate it again. Miguel Cabrera, at this point in his career, is basically like that guy when you play softball that can't run very well. He's got to have a runner every single time, but that guy never makes an out. He's not going to hit you any doubles. He's a base-to-base guy, but he gets on base every single time. He knows how to hit them where they ain't. That's Miguel Cabrera at this point. He's getting a lot of base hits. He's getting on base, but the bat speed still ain't there. His extra base power isn't nearly like what it used to be. I'm very happy that he's going out, right now hitting well versus, hitting maybe like pulling like a Nick Maton and hitting 165, 170 for the season. It's fantastic. But anybody that wants to see Miguel Cabrera DH again next year, when this team absolutely has to make some progress towards next year of being better than a below 500 team. Because this team is going to probably lose 90 games again. They have to absolutely open up that DH spot because they have guys, whether it's Justin Malloy's up here next year, where he's going to need that DH spot some. Gary Carpenter definitely needs that DH spot some. And Hinch is going to want to rotate it, if guys, like they did the other day. Matt Vierling played center field and Riley Green DH'd to help give Riley Green a day off. So they need that spot open. And they could get a lot more production out of a guy that's just slapping the ball around hitting 331. It's great to see. I'm happy for him that, he's getting on base and he's hitting somewhat. But anyone that thinks that Miguel Cabrera needs to come back for an extra year of this shit, there is an evaluation that needs to be made in your fucking brain to want to see this man go out there and softball slap the ball everywhere. It's funny that this guy's 40. I get it. And he's getting on base. But fuck that. They need something better out there at DH next year. 100%. So overall, like I said, decent week. Took 3 or 4 from Minnesota. It's great to see because Minnesota, is trying to win the division. And the Tigers actually took the season series from them for the first time since 2016. The Tigers have played the Central pretty well this year. Ironically, as bad as they've been overall. But to see Miggy have a couple milestones like that, past Tony Gwynn and Robin Yount, and then to see Tork and Carpenter have the weeks they kind of did, and it's good to see Akil Baddoo's bat. It was opportunities left on the table, 100%. But overall, at least it was like a product that you could watch for the most part this week versus what the last couple weeks have been. I'm waiting for September. That's all I give a shit about. For now, these games are just filler games that I'm just chalking them off because I'm fucking praying to God that we get to see some of these guys in Toledo, like Parker and Justin Malloy, maybe Cole Keith, get an opportunity. I don't even care if they suck. I just want to see less of fucking Nick Maton and Zach McKinstry and Andy Ibanez and Akil Baddoo. I'm just ready to see something different. I'm ready to have some false hope if one of these guys come up and fucking rips the ball around. And I'm like, yeah, these guys can be a driving force for next year. And our offense won't be the fucking bottom 3 offense again in the MLB. Yeah, fuck yeah. Wait till Scott Harris makes some moves. And then the offseason comes this upcoming year, and Scott Harris makes another move like he did last year, getting fucking Nick Maton and Matt Vierling and Donnie Sands for Gregory Soto. And those guys contribute 0.0.0.0.2 more fucking runs averaged a game, which doesn't do anything to the offense. And then you're stuck sitting there watching the same trash you watched last year repeat itself again, only this time, Torkelson's done more this year, and you've seen Bradley Green bust out, and Kerry Carpenter's gotten a lot more bats. So at least there's been that kind of positive. The Tigers have already hit more home runs this year than they did all of last year, and they still have over a month and a half to go. So there's that kind of positive. But Jesus fuck if this is not a rough raw offense to watch most nights. Like, Christ almighty. So that's why I'm excited to at least get an opportunity to see these guys in AAA here in a few weeks. So, again, I apologize for not having this video out yesterday night. Wasn't that much of an exciting week of baseball. Better to watch. Did have some big performances by Tork and Carpenter. Offense is banging the ball a little bit better. But overall, this team's ass. It needs to be September. I want to see some fucking Parker Meadows up here and Justin Honey-Malloy and maybe Cole Keith. So I got for you guys today. Appreciate you watching, as always. And go Tigers. I will be back next week.